Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine stepping into a time machine that carries you backward through the layers of human history. Past the rise and fall of civilizations, past the invention of agriculture, past the mastery of fire. Keep going. Further back than you've ever imagined. You're traveling through 4.3 million years of time, watching mountains rise and fall, continents shift, and species emerge and vanish like fleeting shadows. The world you're about to enter doesn't have a single city, not one road, no written language. There are no tools carved by human hands, no fires flickering in the darkness. Welcome to the Pliocene Epoch. Welcome to the true dawn of humanity. The landscape stretches endlessly before you, vast savannas punctuated by islands of ancient woodland. This is East Africa, but not the Africa you know. The air shimmers with heat, and in the distance, volcanoes pierce the sky like nature's cathedrals, occasionally painting the horizon with ash and fire. The climate is in flux, caught in an eternal dance between forest and grassland, between abundance and scarcity. The Great Rift Valley cuts through this primordial world like a massive scar, its walls telling stories written in stone and sediment. Rivers meander through valleys that will one day cradle the bones of our ancestors. But today, right now, those ancestors are very much alive. And they're fighting for survival. Listen carefully. Do you hear that rustling in the tall grass? Those aren't the sounds of modern Africa. These are the footsteps of creatures caught between two worlds, no longer fully ape, but not yet human. Meet Australopithecus anamensis, the earliest members of our family tree that we know of. Their name literally means southern ape of the lake, but they represent something far more profound than their humble title suggests. Picture them in your mind. They stand about 3 to 4 feet tall, roughly the height of a modern 8-year-old child. Their faces would seem alien to us, with prominent brow ridges and jutting jaws filled with large, flat teeth perfect for grinding tough plant matter. Their arms are long and powerful, remnants of their tree-dwelling past. But here's what makes them extraordinary: they walk upright. In a world where most primates still swing through branches or knuckle walk across the ground, these remarkable beings have unlocked something revolutionary. They've discovered the power of standing tall, of seeing beyond the next tuft of grass, of freeing their hands for something other than locomotion. Their brains are small, roughly 1/3 the size of yours, but behind those ancient eyes burns something familiar: intelligence, curiosity, and above all, in fierce devotion to family that would echo through millions of years to reach you today. Let's follow one such family as they begin their day in this unforgiving world. The sun hasn't yet painted the eastern sky, but they're already stirring. Sleep was restless. It always is when you're nothing more than prey in a landscape ruled by predators that could tear you apart without a second thought. The family consists of 8 individuals. There's Kasai, we'll call her that, though she had no name as we understand names. She's the matriarch, weathered by countless seasons, her body bearing the scars of survival. Her keen eyes constantly scan the environment, reading danger signs invisible to less experienced members of the group. Beside her, 2 adolescents, her offspring from previous years who haven't yet ventured out on their own. There's Django, a powerful male whose broad shoulders and intimidating presence serve as the family's primary defense against threats. 3 younger adults round out the group, each one a survivor in their own right. And then there's little Asha, barely 2 seasons old, clinging to her mother with tiny fingers that haven't yet learned the cruel mathematics of this world. One mistake equals death. They've spent the night huddled together on a rocky outcropping 15 feet above the ground, high enough to avoid most predators, stable enough not to collapse under their combined weight. Tree sleeping is an art form when you're caught between worlds, too heavy for the highest branches yet too vulnerable to sleep on the ground. As the first light breaks across the savanna, Kasai makes a decision that will determine whether her family eats today or goes hungry. The watering hole they visited yesterday is now 2 hours' walk away, but the fig trees they discovered 3 days ago lie in the opposite direction. Water or food? Both are essential, but carrying capacity is limited, and the day's heat will be merciless. She chooses the figs. It's a gamble based on instinct and experience. The rains ended weeks ago, and other water sources might still be accessible later. But those figs won't last long once other families or the abundant wildlife discovers them. The group descends from their rocky sanctuary with practiced caution. Every movement is deliberate, every sense alert. Django takes point, his muscular frame ready to confront any threat. The adolescents stay close to the center, while Kasai brings up the rear, little Asha riding on her back. This is their world. A landscape where saber-toothed cats prowl in the tall grass, where massive hyenas travel in packs, where crocodiles lurk in every water source. The very air seems to vibrate with danger, yet these early humans move through it with remarkable grace. Their bipedalism, this revolutionary way of moving, gives them advantages their quadrupedal cousins lack. Standing upright, they can spot predators approaching from greater distances. They can carry food and infants simultaneously. They can cover vast distances efficiently, following seasonal resources across a landscape that's constantly changing. But evolution hasn't finished with them yet. Their work's in progress, caught in the Great Transition. Their pelvis has adapted for upright walking, but childbirth is becoming more dangerous. Their hands are freed from locomotion, but they haven't yet learned to craft tools beyond simple sticks and stones. Their brains are expanding, but language remains a distant dream. Watch them communicate. It's a fascinating blend of gestures, facial expressions, and vocalizations that would sound more like elaborate grunts to modern ears. Yet within this primitive system lies the seed of every poem, every song, every declaration of love that would ever be spoken. Kasai spots movement in the distance, a herd of antelope grazing peacefully. Their calm behavior tells her something crucial. No major predators are in the immediate vicinity. It's intelligence gathering at its most basic level, reading the landscape like a book written in the behavior of other species. The family moves forward, their bare feet silent on the ancient earth. Every step takes them deeper into a day that could be their last, but also deeper into the great human story. They don't know they're pioneering a way of life that will eventually spread across the entire planet. They don't know their descendants will build cities and compose symphonies and travel to the stars. All they know is that they must survive this day, and the next, and the next. Because somewhere in that biological imperative, in that fierce determination to protect their young and preserve their family unit, lies the seed of everything that makes us human. Love, sacrifice, cooperation, innovation, all of it forged in the crucible of survival 4.3 million years ago. The sun climbs higher, painting the savanna in shades of gold and amber. The day's challenges await, and our ancient family moves forward into an uncertain future, carrying within their DNA the entire destiny of humankind. Their story is our story. Their struggle is our inheritance. And it's only just beginning. The fig trees appear like green miracles against the golden savanna, their broad leaves offering the first shade Kasai's family has encountered in hours. But as they approach, something's wrong. The ground beneath the trees should be littered with fallen fruit, yet it's conspicuously clean. They've been beaten to the prize. Django raises his hand, a gesture that freezes the entire group mid-step. His nostrils flare, reading the air like a library of invisible information. The scent tells him everything. Another family was here recently. Very recently. And they might still be close. This is the mathematics of survival in the ancient world. Resources are finite. Competition is everything. And sometimes, your greatest threat isn't a saber-toothed cat. It's another family just like yours, driven by the same desperate need to feed their young. Welcome to the daily gauntlet that forged human nature itself. Kasai makes a decision that reveals the sophisticated social intelligence already emerging in these early humans. Instead of retreating or advancing aggressively, she does something remarkable. She begins to vocalize. Not random sounds, but a deliberate pattern of calls that carries across the landscape. She's announcing their presence, their peaceful intentions, their willingness to share. From the trees comes an answer. Different voices, but following a similar pattern. It's a negotiation conducted in the proto-language of survival, and it's working. What emerges from behind the fig trees would astonish any modern observer. Another family group, slightly larger than case-size, led by an elderly female whose scarred hands tell stories of decades survived in this merciless world. This is Zara, a matriarch whose very existence proves something profound about early human society. She's old. In a world where injury means death and weakness means becoming prey, she's managed to live long enough for her hair to gray and her movements to slow. Yet she's still here, still leading, still making decisions that keep her family alive. Because these early humans have already discovered something revolutionary, the power of accumulated knowledge. Zara has survived droughts that killed others. She knows which plants are safe during desperate times, which water sources remain viable when others fail, how to read the subtle signs that predict weather changes days in advance. She's a living library in a world without books. Watch what happens next. Instead of fighting over the remaining figs, the two families begin to coordinate. The younger, stronger members climb the trees while others keep watch for predators. It's cooperation at its most basic level, yet it represents a cognitive leap that separates these early humans from their purely competitive ancestors. Little Asha, still riding on her mother's back, reaches out toward a child from the other family. Their tiny fingers touch, perhaps the first handshake in human history, innocent and unaware that this simple gesture carries the genetic blueprint for every alliance, every friendship, every act of cooperation that would follow. But this moment of harmony is shattered by a sound that turns every head, the distinctive whoop of spotted hyenas. Not the relatively small hyenas you might see in a modern zoo, but their massive ancestors, animals the size of lions, with bone-crushing jaws and pack-hunting intelligence that rivaled any predator of their era. The response is immediate and instinctual. Both families move as one, abandoning their foraging to create a defensive formation around their most vulnerable members. Django and the other adult males position themselves on the perimeter, while the females gather the young into the center. But here's where the story becomes truly remarkable. They don't just huddle together and hope for the best. These early humans begin to use tools. Django grabs a fallen branch, testing its weight and balance. Others follow suit, arming themselves with rocks and sticks. They're not crafting sophisticated weapons. That innovation is still millions of years in the future. But they're doing something no other primate of their era does consistently. They're extending their physical capabilities through external objects. The hyenas appear at the edge of the clearing, three massive forms moving with predatory grace. Their eyes assess the situation with disturbing intelligence. These aren't mindless beasts. They're calculating the odds, looking for weakness, waiting for the right moment to strike. What happens next showcases the emerging human superpower, collective intelligence. Zara, despite her age, begins a rhythmic stamping that the others immediately pick up. The sound builds, creating an acoustic wall of intimidation. Simultaneously, the armed males begin to spread out, not to flee, but to appear larger, more threatening. They're coordinating without verbal instruction, reading each other's intentions through gesture and instinct. The largest hyena takes a tentative step forward. Django responds by hurling his branch with surprising accuracy, striking the predator's shoulder. It's not enough to cause serious injury, but it sends a clear message. This prey fights back. For long moments, the standoff continues. Predator and proto-human locked in a battle of wills that represents millions of years of evolutionary pressure condensed into a single, heart-stopping encounter. Then, something shifts. Perhaps it's the unified front presented by the two families. Perhaps it's the demonstrated willingness to use tools and coordinate attacks. Perhaps it's simply the calculation that easier prey exists elsewhere. The hyenas withdraw, melting back into the tall grass as silently as they appeared. The victory is temporary, It always is in this world. But in those crucial moments, something profound has occurred. Two separate families, potential competitors for scarce resources, have instead chosen cooperation. They've demonstrated tool use, collective defense, and strategic thinking. Most importantly, they've protected their young. As the immediate danger passes, the families don't immediately separate. They continue foraging together, sharing information about water sources and safe sleeping spots. The children play together, their laughter a sound that connects directly to every playground in human history. Little Asha has fallen asleep on her mother's back, exhausted by the day's drama. She doesn't know that she's just witnessed the birth of human civilization, not in the form of cities or technologies, but in the simple recognition that survival is easier when you're not alone. The sun begins its descent toward the western horizon, painting the savanna in shades of orange and red. Soon, both families will need to find secure sleeping spots for the night. The daily cycle of survival will begin again with tomorrow's dawn. But something has changed. In choosing cooperation over competition, in demonstrating tool use and collective defense, these early humans have taken another step along the long path toward becoming us. The crucible of survival is forging the very essence of humanity, one desperate decision at a time. The stars shine differently in a world without light pollution, without cities, without the electromagnetic hum of modern civilization. As night falls over the East African savanna, the sky becomes a vast cathedral of light. The same stars our ancient ancestors gazed upon 4.3 million years ago. Kasai's family has found refuge on another rocky outcropping, this time sharing the space with Zara's group. What began as a chance encounter over fig trees has evolved into something unprecedented, an alliance. For the first time in either family's memory, they're not sleeping alone in the darkness. The change is subtle but profound. With more eyes watching for predators, with more bodies generating warmth, with shared knowledge creating a safety net of survival wisdom, both families have dramatically increased their chances of seeing another dawn. Little Asha stirs in her sleep, instinctively reaching out to touch not just her mother, but one of the children from the other family. In that simple gesture lies a revolution that will echo through millions of years. Humans are stronger together. But let's step back from this intimate moment and consider what we're really witnessing. This isn't just a story about our ancestors surviving another day. This is the birth of everything that makes us uniquely human. Think about it. Right now, as you listen to this story, you're using abilities that were forged in moments exactly like these. Your capacity for cooperation, your instinct to protect family, your ability to use tools, your tendency to form alliances with strangers, all of it emerged from the desperate mathematics of survival in the ancient world. When the morning sun rises over the savanna, both families begin their daily routine with a difference. They're coordinating. Zara's knowledge of seasonal water sources combines with Django's strength and Kasai's foraging expertise. They're becoming something greater than the sum of their parts. The elderly matriarch Zara won't live much longer, perhaps another season, maybe two. But the knowledge she's sharing will outlive her. She's teaching the younger members which plants can sustain them during droughts, how to read the behavior of other animals to predict weather changes, where to find the clay that can treat wounds. This is human culture being born. Not in universities or libraries, but around a sleeping spot on ancient rocks, passed from weathered hands to eager young minds. As weeks pass, the alliance proves its worth. When another family approaches their territory aggressively, the combined group presents a formidable front. When a leopard stalks little Asha, there are more adults available to intervene. When the seasonal rains fail and food becomes scarce, shared knowledge leads them to resources neither group would have found alone. But perhaps most remarkably, they begin to innovate together. Django discovers that certain stones, when struck against each other, produce sharp edges useful for processing tough plant materials. It's not sophisticated tool-making that still eons away, but it represents cognitive flexibility, the ability to see objects not just as they are, but as they could be. The children, Playing together while adults forage, accidentally discover that certain combinations of sticks and stones create new possibilities. Their play is actually primitive experimentation, the earliest form of scientific inquiry. Fast forward several months. The alliance has not only survived but thrived. Other families in the region have begun to notice. Some approach peacefully, seeking to join the coalition. Others view the growing group as a threat to their own territories. The dynamics are changing. These early humans are creating the first truly complex social structures, complete with hierarchies, alliances, and conflicts that mirror every human society that would follow. Little Asha is walking now, her first independent steps taken in a world that's safer than the one her mother knew at the same age. She'll grow up with a broader vocabulary of gestures and calls, with more sophisticated tool use, with a deeper understanding of cooperation. She represents the next generation, not just biologically, but culturally. The knowledge and innovations of her parents' generation will become her baseline, freeing her to push even further into the unknown territories of human potential. But here's what makes this story truly extraordinary. It's still happening. Right now, in laboratories around the world, scientists are uncovering fragments of these ancient lives. At sites like Kanapoi and Alia Bay in Kenya, paleontologists carefully brush sediment away from fossilized bones that are 4.3 million years old. Each discovery adds another piece to the puzzle of who we are and where we came from. The DNA in your cells carries echoes of Keisai's struggles and Django's strength. The social instincts that drive you to protect your family, to cooperate with strangers, to innovate in the face of challenges, all of it traces back to those desperate days on the ancient savannah. Every time you use a tool, you're honoring Django's innovation with stones and sticks. Every time you share knowledge, you're following Zara's example. Every time you choose cooperation over conflict, you're walking in Keisai's footsteps. Their legacy isn't written in monuments or books, it's written in the very structure of human society. The cities we build, the technologies we create, the bonds we form, the families we protect, all of it began with small groups of early humans deciding that survival was easier together than alone. The savanna where they lived is still there, though it's changed dramatically over millions of years. The rocks where they slept have been ground to dust by time and weather. But their most important creation, human nature itself, lives on in every person born. This is our origin story. Not a myth or a legend, but the scientific truth of how humanity began. We are all descendants of survivors, carriers of DNA that was tested and refined in the crucible of prehistoric Africa. And the story continues. Every discovery brings us closer to understanding our ancient family. Every fossil tells us more about the courage and ingenuity of our earliest ancestors. Want to journey deeper into the incredible story of human evolution? To explore more amazing discoveries about our prehistoric past? To uncover the scientific detective work that brings these ancient worlds to life? Subscribe to join us as we travel through time, exploring the pivotal moments that shaped human history. From the first tools to the first words, from the first art to the first civilizations, these stories are your stories, your heritage, your incredible journey through deep time. Because understanding where we came from isn't just about the past, it's about understanding who we are today. Hit that subscribe button and let's continue this remarkable journey together.